I was braced for grief. I was steeled to witness the worst. Lupercal victorious, the triumph of ruin, chaos ascendant, the end of this world, the loss of the last loyal sons, the fall of my old friend and king of ages. These outcomes have always been very real possibilities. I thought I was ready to greet them should they come about. I had never imagined that there could be worse. I was not ready for this. My king undone, not by his first found's rage, nor the calumny of traitors, nor even the spite of demons. He is undone by his own hand. Long before humanity even existed, there was a prophecy, the prophecy of the Dark King. This foretold future god is humanity's fate, for we will all die in its birth fire, just as the Eldari did for Slaanesh. However, where the ruinous powers were created from the emotions, dreams and ambitions of sentient life forms, the Dark King's origin will be very different. Then crowned in his stead, the Dark King. One that is once born immortal is born again as a king of all darkness. The black shell cracks, thus he ascends in the timeless time and is elevated to the gods to reign as a dark crowned king. This is key information that we get towards the end of the Siege of Terra in The End and the Death Volume 1, and going into the second book there are various characters who are scrambling with this knowledge and the thought that Horus Lupercal is going to go through some sort of apotheosis and end up as this dark deity. One man who keeps seeing the name the Dark King repeated is Kirill Sinderman, a man who will go on to become one of the first Inquisitors. He is searching through the Emperor's personal library in the halls of Leng, looking for any kind of knowledge that could be helpful, and into the hall comes someone he did not expect to see, Azek Ahriman. Ahriman is also hoping to extract as much knowledge as possible from the Emperor's library before it is inevitably destroyed by hordes of rampaging traitors. Now interestingly, Ahriman doesn't kill the Iterator immediately, he's actually a bit of a fan, and a conversation follows which ends up being centered on the Dark King. Ahriman has clearly heard of this being before, however he was unaware that people think Horus is going to ascend. This naturally fascinates Ahriman, and so he searches through the library for more information. He knew that Horus would have godlike power, for the Pantheon has invested within the War Master more power and influence than anyone has ever possessed. But if he ascends to become the Dark King, Horus will truly be divine. However, what Ahriman reveals next turns everything on its head. Using his immense power, Horus trapped Terra in a single day on repeat. Without time, the outcome of a prophecy could be entirely different than expected. Fate itself is confounded. Ahriman reveals the truth, that the real Dark King is the Emperor of mankind. The plan of the Chaos Gods is almost complete. Before we get to that though, one Chaos God who is definitely going to approve of the sponsor for today's video is the Chaos God Khorne. Mini Wargaming is a Warhammer institution, and Mini Wargamer Dave asked me to talk about his new Ravaged Star range. In 2022, Mini Wargaming and Lazy Squire Games collaborated to begin Ravaged Star, a 32mm heroic scale wargame. The dreaded Veil Touched hit the tabletop, and they were such a success that an expansion is now upon us, bringing the Dwarven Imari and the alien Gorkog. I'm in love with this Horde Master, he brings a real otherworldly horror to the battlefield. The campaign is live right now on GameFound and runs for 8 days, 8 hours, 8 minutes and 8 seconds. Seriously, Dave really likes Khorne. A painting competition that anyone can enter is also underway, and it allows you to get your hands on these models for free and at least 12 months before they are available. Download your free Imari, Gorkog or Veil Touched, or if you don't have a 3D printer, you can purchase the models on Only Games. Full details to the competition are on their webpage, and so links to both that and the campaign are in my description. Whilst he is not going to ascend to become the Dark King, as a vessel for the Chaos Gods, Horus Lupercal still possesses unbelievable power, and so he decides to exert some of it to create a city, the Inevitable City. And this is at a time when space and time essentially mean nothing, but the Inevitable City, it seems, is sort of bridging Terra with the Vengeful Spirit with the Warp. Ollanius Pius, John Grammaticus and Litu were fighting against Erebus on Terra, and then after an explosion, they run into Garviel Loken, who was previously on the Vengeful Spirit, having been sent there by Malcador. I appreciate that a lot of you are going to be unfamiliar with who those characters are, so running through them quickly, Garviel Loken is a former captain of the Lunar Wolves. In fact, he says he's still a captain of the Lunar Wolves, just there's no Lunar Wolves left. Litu is literally LE2, a prototype Space Marine, a Space Marine with no Primarch. John Grammaticus used to be an artificial perpetual, though has now lost that ability. However, he is still a Logokine, a powerful psyker with the ability to understand any language, no matter its form or origin. However, the truly important person in this storyline is Persson. He is not only a perpetual, he is the oldest perpetual, the oldest human in existence. He is not nearly as powerful as the Emperor, however he did serve as the Emperor's first War Master in the distant past. But he betrayed the Emperor, as many perpetuals did, and fled from his old friend for many, many years. So how and why is the Emperor of Mankind the Dark King? Well, one thing that's really important to know about the Siege of Terra, and this is a pretty big lore change. Horus Lupercal is far more powerful than the Emperor is at this point in time. This is an opinion shared by many characters in the book, including the Emperor himself, but Horus was able to trick his father into coming to face him. Through most of the siege, Horus had created a kind of mask of insanity, and when the Emperor teleports onto his flagship, he drops the mask and the full power of Horus Lupercal is unleashed. It is supposedly so terrifying that even the word bearers flee from Horus. The Emperor very quickly realizes his mistake because Horus is able to twist the souls of the Emperor's own guardians, the Custodes, and many of them turn and charge at the Master of Mankind, who is forced to slay dozens of Custodes before he is able to reassert his psychic control. As the Emperor and his remaining guardians move through the Vengeful Spirit, more custodians are lost to traps and demons, until eventually there are only 6 remaining. It is at this point that the Emperor realizes, as things stand, his assault on the Vengeful Spirit is hopeless. However, he has one option left. Make no mistake, the Emperor is the anathema to the Chaos Pantheon. He stole some of their fire once before. Now he shall do it again. He drinks deep from the warp, and as his psychic might swells, he burns out his remaining custodians, for to be in his presence is to die. Only one survives, protected by a sigil of Malcador. The Emperor is on the verge of apotheosis to becoming the Dark King. This is power unlike anything even he has felt before. He is becoming a true god. As the Emperor cut his way towards Horus, he laid waste to everything in his path. A vast section of the Inevitable City has been reduced to a city of dust. He looks as a black sphere now, and once that shell cracks, his apotheosis will be complete. Even Malcador sees what the Emperor is becoming and is horrified at the state of his old friend. As you saw earlier, Malcador realizes that all of their plans for thousands of years are for naught. Most of humanity is going to die in the Emperor's birth fire as he ascends to become the Dark King. There is no power in creation that can stand in opposition or prevent the Emperor's ascendance. But then the most curious thing happens. The Emperor of Mankind sees an old friend. One glimpse of the Emperor's true form would scatter Ollanius Persson to atoms. Therefore, through his last guardian, the proconsul Caecaltus Dusk, the Emperor communicates with Ollanius. It becomes clear that many have conspired to get these two talking. The actions of the Perpetual Urda, Malcador, and the Xenos, Eldrad Ulthran, have all played a part in allowing Oll to plead to his old friend at this critical moment. Oll is insistent that this is not the way to stop Horus Lupercal, but the Emperor is determined. Without this power, without becoming a god of the warp, the Emperor does not stand a chance against his wayward son. The sad reality sets in. The Chaos Gods have won. It doesn't matter if the Emperor ascends or not. The warp will become a churning frenzy for millions of years. The material realm will be overcome and mankind wiped out. Even if the Emperor can stop Horus, he will undo all he has built. In one last attempt to convince a man who is almost a god, Oll requests that the Emperor use his new godly perception to examine his plan, and the Emperor obliges. He examines its flaws and its errors, and perceives things that no man could. At this point, Oll's companions approach. Garviel Loken kneels before the mirrored blackness that encases the Emperor. His lord tells them all, "If I renounce the power, all is lost. If we fight as men, we will lose." But his analysis is done. The Emperor knows that the Dark King is not the way.
Then we lose. Better to fight demons as men than become them.
And so it was that the Emperor of Mankind relinquished his divinity. But before he returns to being a man, the Emperor uses the incredible power one final time to heal the wounds of all his companions. The Emperor's sacrifice here is greater than any no save Malcador. For in order to divest himself of godhood, the Master of Mankind had to cast aside a fragment of himself. He broke off a part of his own soul. He amputated the portion of himself that contains all his hope, loyalty, and compassion. For such things will become a hindrance. Those qualities might make him stay his hand or hesitate when he needs to finally end this heresy. The Emperor knows what awaits him, and if he were to kill his son, the self-hatred, the regret would condemn him for all time, and he would end up as embittered as Horus. So he excised those precious human aspects to further steel himself against the pain of what will come after. But Horus Lupercal is not yet defeated. The Custodian, Caecaltus, and the Astartes, Litu, and Garviel Loken kneel before the Emperor of Mankind, a golden colossus once more. They make one final oath of moment before they rise and head to the ultimate battle. That is where we leave the Emperor's storyline. He is on his way to face his son, but at this moment there seems to be no way for him to beat Horus. There are also a few other details that I wanted to mention because I know you'll be interested. According to Malcador, the Emperor was aware of the prophecy of the Dark King, but apparently they thought it was just some old myth and dismissed it. Then the book says the Dark King is likely to return in another age. I believe we will see the return of this storyline in 40k. I hope you Dan Abnett fans did not miss that reference I put in around the City of Dust and how it was created. I cannot stress enough, I nearly dropped the book when I read this. And connected to this, I think, is something that Ahriman reveals. He starts using the tarot deck, and after he reveals the cards for the Emperor and the Dark King, the next card revealed is the Despoiler. And Abaddon in the book is about to face down Constantine Valdor. In regards to Oll and John, it seems that in the next book, they're going to try and travel back through time because they need to ensure that they leave enough clues throughout their journey to make sure they end up having this conversation with the Emperor again, because it is pivotal. So they're trying to create some sort of causal loop. And then finally, John Grammaticus does stab Erebus in the ear with some Eldar shears. That's not really relevant to this story, I just really liked it. But there are a lot more details in this book. It is a long novel and I definitely recommend everyone read it. We will be going over more details in the future, so if you enjoyed this video, please do subscribe, and if you really enjoyed the video, you can click the join button on the page below and get access to the Discord and more content. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.